Jake, just so you're aware, we are live on YouTube now.
Okay, thank you, Frank. I see we have a couple of our appellants have signed in, so I'll bring them in once we get to their appeal. And we are still waiting for a couple of our other board members to join before we get started. Okay, we do have a quorum, but we have a couple minutes here. We'll wait for our last board member to sign in.
Very good.
I'm not seeing all the board members yet.
I don't either, Jake. I just see Jeff.
Oh, yeah.
and-
I do see him. I got him. Who is Donald Wagner?
I'm
The board
attorney.
solicitor.
Yeah, I don't see the three. Jake, I just see Jeff and PJ. You're on mute.
Laura and Selena have joined in as well.
Okay.
We're just waiting on Ed.
Hey, Jake, I got a question while we're waiting, just curiosity. How come in that third appeal, why did they include that decision from 2013? Was it just because it was about the same property or curious?
Yes. Yeah, all previous appeals, it's been typical to include previous appeals for the property.
1 o'clock, Jake, you want to get started?
Yes,
Is Ed with us or no?
not yet. I didn't get confirmation one way or the other whether he was attending.
Okay.
But we do have a quorum. It is 1 o'clock, and I believe the first appellant is present.
All right, so I'm going to call the zoning hearing board of the city of Erie to order. You want to take a roll call?
Yes. Mr. Johnson,
Present.
Ms. King,
Present.
Ms. Gunchin,
Present.
Mr. Manella.
Present.
We have four of, I see Mr. Dawson has just joined us. Let me get him in the room.
In the meantime, can we have an approval of the minutes from the May 11th, 21 meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll second Ms. Gunchin's motion.
Thank you. All those in favor state by saying aye.
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 Motion approved. Okay, Jake, appeals to be heard.
First up, we have appeal number 12254 by Thomas and Rebecca Curtis. This is concerning property located at 2631 Liberty Street in an R1A zoning district. The appellant is seeking a use variance to allow a two-family dwelling. Per section 204.11 of the city zoning ordinance, two-family dwellings are not a permitted use in an R1A zoning district. Representing the appellants, we have Miss Melanie Brewer, who's in the room to speak.
Okay, we're going to swear Melanie in and anyone else that's going to speak regarding this property. Always start with by stating your name and your address for the stenographer.
Should I swear him in?
Yes.
Ma'am, or whoever's going to testify, please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Melanie, how are you?
Excellent,
Jeffrey
Mr.
Johnson.
How are you?
Nice to see you. Good. Are you the real estate salesperson on the property here, or you're just representing the seller?
In order to not get too long-winded, Kelly Oler is the listing agent for the property on Liberty. She is one of the agents in my team, and she is brand new. So I'm acting on her behalf, but by technically the seller's behalf.
Very good. Okay, you want to tell us about what you're looking for?
Sure. So Mr. and Mrs. Curtis, I'm sorry. So Melanie Brewer, 125 Usonia Avenue, Erie, Pennsylvania, 16509 is my address. The seller, Mr. and Mrs. Curtis, purchased the property more than 20 years ago. And since 2000 has been renting it out as a 2-unit. The property was listed a few months ago, went under contract, and the gentleman purchasing the contract entered into the agreement with the assumption that it was a 2-unit property. It is currently being utilized as such and has been since 2000. So the impact to the neighborhood wouldn't change the neighborhood at all, because it has been acting as such a multi-unit for 21 years. So if we're not successful in obtaining this variance, the sellers will have a financial burden of roughly $25,000 would be the differential of either A, converting the property back. It is egress and ingress and all of that has already been established for both units. And they have long-term tenants.
Melanie, financial hardships we don't use in determining whether there should be a variance granted or not.
Understood.
So I don't go down that road. Go another.
Understood. I guess our argument is simply it has been a 2-unit property in all function for the last 21 years. And the new buyer would just like to do so in a lawful way and be in good standing with the city.
When was that? How old is that property?
It is, give me 2 seconds, Jeff.
Do you have that, Jake?
I will have to look that up. Are you asking
I
how
just
long has the structure been there?
Yeah, and how long has it been a 2-unit? Has it been that way 100 years? But you know,
No, it hasn't been that way. Well, the current sellers converted it when they moved out, which was around 1996. And they had their son living there as well as another family member, which is why they converted it to the way that they did. And then in 2000 is when they were actually leasing it for payment. And I'm looking, Jeff, to see if I can find.
it was built in 1913.
Okay.
And the testimony you gave that it was converted in 96 and rented out starting maybe around 2000.
For finance, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. So it's been 21 years there as a rental unit.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Anything else you want to add, Melanie, before we ask the board members if they have questions?
I don't believe so. I mean, we've spoken to the zoning officer, and he said that the future buyer could continue to use it as a 2-unit, but again, he just wants to do so in a lawful way. So.
Understood. Questions from the board?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, if I might add,
Yeah.
I did have those conversations with the property owner and the agents, and the clarification of the rental of the upstairs unit has been previously that under the definition of family, a single family dwelling, if the property is set up as a single family dwelling, you can rent to up to 2 boarders at any one time a portion of the structure, which is essentially what was being done previously for the upstairs unit. The upstairs unit was still technically integrated with the rest of the building because there was an interior doorway between the upstairs and downstairs units near the rear egress of the property. So technically speaking, it was still set up as a single family dwelling, but the upstairs was being rented lawfully. So I just wanted to make that clarification.
Thank you. Board members, questions?
Was the unit paying the rental fees?
You mean where they?
I believe the property's been registered. I believe so, yes.
That's what I'm asking. How long has it been registered?
My understanding is since 2000.
Okay.
Any other questions, Ed?
No, sir.
Okay. Any of the other board members have questions?
Mr. Chairman, just one clarification. Melanie, you said that there are tenants in both units currently.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yep. Both
That's all I
paying.
had. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board members? Is there anybody else to speak on behalf of this variance?
It is my understanding there is no other party associated with this to speak.
Is there anyone else that wants to speak on behalf of this variance? Is there anyone else to speak on behalf of this variance? Is there anyone to speak against the variance? Is there anyone to speak against the variance? Is there anyone to speak against the variance? With that said, call for a vote.
We have a call for the vote. Ms. King, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Dawson?
Yes.
Ms. Gunchin?
Yes.
Mr. Manella?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
By a vote of 5 yeses to 0 nos, the appeal is approved.
Thank you. Moving on to the next appeal, Jake.
The next appeal is appeal number 12255 by Joseph Gamble concerning property located at 3525 Shaper Avenue in an R1 zoning district. The appellant is seeking a dimensional variance to construct a 22 by 22 attached garage. Per section 205.23 of the city zoning ordinance, the minimum distance between any street property line and any garage door facing same shall be 20 feet. 10 feet is proposed. We do have Mr. Gamble and Mr. DiNicola, who will speak on behalf of the appeal.
Okay, we need them sworn in, stenographer.
Will you both raise your right hand? Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
They replying?
No?
They may be muted. I just moved them over into the room. And I'm asking them to unmute.
There's Gary DiNicola in there.
Yes,
Okay. Did you hear your swearing in? Hello?
yes,
Yes? Okay. And did Mr. Gamble also? Both here, both are sworn in. Okay. There anybody else that's going to speak on besides you two? Anybody else?
So, Chair.
Okay, all right. So, Mr. DiNicola, Mr. Gamble, when you speak for the court reporter's request, that you state your name and your address before you speak. Everybody hear that?
yes.
Okay. All right. With that said, you may proceed.
Yes, sir.
Mr. DiNicola, are you representing Mr. Gamble?
Yes,
Okay, you want to tell us what your request is and why?
we want to build a 22 by 22 garage on the property. Starting further from the rear, so the front would be approximately 15 feet from the garage to the road. And the house now is only 10 feet from the road. So in actuality, the garage isn't as close to the road as the house is now. So I don't think there's a problem.
Anything else you want to add to that?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Are you a lawyer or are you a friend or where do you fit in the picture
No.
here?
Just a contractor.
Okay. All right. Do the board members have any questions? Do any of the board members have any questions?
No.
I didn't hear that, Ed. What'd you say?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. All right. Well, if there's no,
Jeff, let me just ask a couple of things of Mr. DiNicola. I mean, what you offered us, I guess, would be enough to vote on, but just to buttress your argument a little bit, is that the only place on the property where a garage is feasible, where you're suggesting to build it?
Yes.
Okay. And you said that at the 10-foot mark, it would be flush with the house. Did I understand that correctly? If the variance is approved, the garage would be the same distance from the street as the house is now. Did I understand that right?
No. The house now is 10 feet from the road, but the garage is set back. That would be approximately 15 feet from the road.
Mr. Chair,
yes.
To Joseph Gamble or to Mr. DiNicola, in the drawing that I looked at and going through the property also, it appears that the garage starts at the back entrance or side entrance. Is that where it's about to start?
Yes.
And on your drawing, you list 20 feet from the garage to the sidewalk. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
And then to Jake, is that what the city is requiring or?
Well, per the drawing and to Mr. DiNicola's comments, the distance from the structure to the edge of the street is different than the distance from the front property line or the edge of the right of way. The edge of the right of way is usually inside, near the sidewalk area, typically speaking. So the front property line is going to be closer to the building than the edge of the street. And the way the zoning ordinance reads, that 20-foot minimum distance is to that front property line versus the edge of the street. So that's the difference that you're seeing in the dimensions that are portrayed in the application.
Wow, that's even more confusing. So how far is the garage from the property line?
Based on my calculations, Mr. Dawson, I had to rely on other site plans in the neighborhood to try and come up with an approximation of where the building was located, where the primary structure is located in relation to the property line. So the drawing that I produced is approximate. It's likely within a couple feet. So based on my calculations, it appears that the front of the garage, which was pushed back through conversations with the owner and the contractor, they pushed the garage back, but they're confined by trying to meet the other setback requirements as well. So that seemed to be the most reasonable solution as far as the proposed layout is concerned. But as you can see, I'm approximating that to that front property line, it's about 10 feet from the garage to the front property line. And then it's another 5 or 10 feet to the street.
Very good.
Jake,
Any
if I
other-
may, what you just said sounded like a very important hardship. Could you please repeat that? You said that the location of the garage is compromised by the setbacks of the rest of the house. Could you repeat that so I have it correct in my notes?
Well, in conversations with the property owner, since the property is only 40 feet deep, it makes it difficult to meet that 20-foot front setback, if you will, in addition to the required rear setback, which has to be a minimum of 5.
Okay, thank you.
And again, those are kind of approximate. So if the property were surveyed, it may be possible that they would be coming very close to that 5-foot setback in the back.
Any other more questions from the board members? Any other questions from the board members? Is there anybody else to speak in favor of this variance? Is there anyone else to speak in favor of this variance? Is there anyone else to speak in favor of this variance? Is there anyone to speak opposing the variance? Is there anyone wants to speak opposing the variance? Is there anybody that wants to speak opposing the variance? With that said, I call for a vote.
We have a call for the vote. Ms. King, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Dawson?
Yes.
Ms. Gunchin?
Yes.
Mr. Manella?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
We have a vote of 5 yeses. The appeal is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to our final appeal. Jake, you want to read that to us?
Yes, we have our third and final appeal for today is appeal number 12256 by GPD Group concerning property located at 2146 McKinley Avenue, which is located in an M2 zoning district. The appellant is seeking a dimensional variance to construct a 20-foot height extension to an existing tower-based wireless communication facility. Per section 205 of the city zoning ordinance, the maximum height of structures in an M2 zoning district is 100 feet. 120 feet is proposed. We have with us Mr. Mike Beto to speak on behalf of the appeal.
Okay, Mike, do you want to get sworn in? Juliet?
Sir, would you raise your right hand? Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
State your name and address each and every time you speak, now that you're sworn in.
Okay.
Your name?
Yeah, this is Mike Beto with GPD Group. Address is 520 South Main Street, Suite 2531, Akron, Ohio 44311.
How do you spell your last name, Mike?
It's Beddow.
All right. You want to tell us about what you're asking for?
Yeah, so as Jake mentioned, we're requesting a 20-foot extension, or I guess dimensional variance. We are looking at co-locating some AT&T antennas on an existing cell tower. The existing tower is 100 feet. There are currently carriers at 80, 85, and 95 feet, which would limit AT&T to a 70-foot elevation, which isn't sufficient to provide any real coverage or capacity at this site. So we're proposing again to move up to 120 to be able to have a better coverage area. I know the city zoning code is there are mentions in there of kind of maintaining or reducing the visual impact. So that's why we are not looking at putting up a new tower. We believe that just extending the existing tower is going to be a better option for the neighbors, the city, and everyone involved here. So just again, trying to limit kind of what our impact is. We did look at the rest of the area. There aren't any other cell towers within a quarter mile here, which is one of the requirements of the code. So this is really kind of what we were limited to. I did see in the previous variance that, or I guess special exception, that Verizon had requested that they were looking at a 150-foot tower, which would have served them better. And we're still kind of staying under that. But as evidenced by previous applicants, a taller tower is beneficial. Like I said, the 70-foot really at this point just doesn't give us anything. So we're requesting 20-foot, give us some better options, and also it would still leave a space just underneath AT&T's antennas for another future carrier to come in. So it's kind of serving the dual purpose of giving us the coverage we need and also kind of providing someone else future co-location possibility at this site. Because I think right now it's just Verizon and T-Mobile on the site. With AT&T, it leaves one or two other major carriers out there that could potentially use this tower. So rather than kind of going for just the bare minimum here, we thought another 10-foot would be probably best, again, for everyone at this site.
Mr. Beto, this is Attorney Wagner. I'm going to be writing the official report, and as you kind of alluded to, I'm familiar with similar claims that we've had over the years. But you were talking really fast at the beginning, and I didn't get down everything that you said. Is your goal here to consolidate 3 smaller cell towers? That's what I kind of heard you say. One as low as 70 foot, which no longer meets the modern industry standard. Is your goal to consolidate 3 existing towers into the one tower that exists? You just want to make it taller?
No,
I didn't get exactly what you said. Could you repeat it, please?
Yeah, there's just one existing tower now, but there are already 2 carriers on it. So our 100-foot tower doesn't provide us the opportunity to have antennas at 100 foot. With the other 2 carriers, we'd be limited to 70 foot. So it's just one tower. AT&T, to go on the tower as is, would have to be at 70 foot. So we're requesting extension so we can get up above that, because 70 foot is very, very low.
Okay, so one last question. AT&T installed the existing tower, and you represent Verizon, and you need the higher one. Did I say that right, or did I say it backward?
I don't know who installed the existing tower. I believe it was Verizon, but I can't confirm that.
Who do you represent?
I'm representing AT&T.
Okay, so I had it backward. Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Jake, it looks like they came before the zoning board back in May of 2013. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. And the reason they're required to do that, because the use is listed as a special exception, which requires that the applicant go in front of the board and demonstrate that the proposed tower would meet all the conditions in the zoning ordinance. So it's different from a variance request.
Any questions from the board members? Any
Jake, are there
questions?
other towers at this level in the city now?
With regards to the height,
Yes.
I would say yes. I don't have a complete database of all of the tower locations in the city, but I would say that's probably typical. I think as referenced in that former appeal, the taller tower height is more desirable because it provides for more coverage. But when that tower was approved in the M2 district, 100 feet was the height limit.
And I
Yeah.
thought I heard the chair say, or maybe Mr. Beto say, that in keeping with the standards of today, that it just doesn't meet what it requires to, I guess, cast your signal.
Yeah, our typical towers are 195 feet at the bottom end. So 70 foot's really not good.
Did you say
Any other-
95? Did you say 95 feet or 195?
195.
Any other questions from the board members? All right, with that being said, is there anyone to speak on behalf of the variance? Is there anyone to speak on behalf of the variance? Is there anyone to speak on behalf of the variance? Is there anyone to speak opposing the variance? Is there anyone to speak opposing the variance? Is there anyone to speak opposing the variance? With that said, I call for a vote.
Well, we have a call for a vote. Ms. King, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Dawson,
Yes.
Ms. Gunchin,
Yes.
Mr. Manella,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
With a vote of 5 yeses, the appeal is approved.
Okay. With that said, is there any other business that we need to go over? Not hearing any?
Not,
Do I hear a
not formal board, not formal business for this meeting, Jeff. We can close the meeting, but I want to know if everybody got my email and if we're going to discuss that or not. That'll be after the meeting.
Yeah, well, let's go ahead and somebody make a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Very good. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Motion's carried. The meeting is over, and Don, we will stay with